Most people spend their entire lives believing that emotions are their greatest strength. They are taught to be open, expressive, vulnerable, and guided by the heart. Society praises kindness and encourages people to lead with feelings. But what if there is another side to this idea that very few people talk about? What if the difference between those who struggle and those who quietly rise to the top is not talent, luck, or even intelligence, but emotional discipline? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you made a decision out of anger and regretted it later? How many opportunities disappeared because hesitation or guilt slowed you down? How often have people taken advantage of someone simply because that person cared too much about pleasing everyone around them? Human emotions are powerful. They create connection, passion, and meaning in life. But when they are uncontrolled, they also create weakness, confusion, and vulnerability. Throughout history, the individuals who changed the course of nations often understood something uncomfortable about human nature. They knew that influence rarely belongs to the loudest person in the room or the most emotional one. Instead, it belongs to the person who remains calm while everyone else reacts. One of the thinkers who explored this reality centuries ago was Niccolò Machiavelli, a political observer who studied how leaders gained and maintained power in unstable times. His writings were not about teaching people to be cruel or immoral. Instead, they were an attempt to explain the world as it actually worked, rather than how people wished it worked. And one lesson appeared again and again in his observations. The person who controls their emotions controls their actions, and the person who controls their actions often shapes the outcome. Imagine two individuals placed in the same difficult situation. One reacts immediately, letting anger, fear, or pride guide every decision. The other pauses, observes, and chooses their response carefully. The first person may feel powerful in the moment. The second person becomes powerful in the long run. Emotional discipline does not mean becoming cold or empty. It means understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. They inform you, but they do not control you. In many situations, people reveal their intentions without realizing it. A raised voice shows frustration. Nervous gestures reveal insecurity. Excessive excitement exposes ambition. Those who observe quietly learn more about a room than those who dominate it. Silence, when used wisely, becomes a powerful tool. When someone speaks constantly, they unintentionally share their fears, their plans, and their weaknesses. But when a person listens more than they speak, they gather information that others overlook. History is full of examples where the quiet observer eventually became the decisive leader. This is why strategic thinkers often emphasize restraint. They know that reacting immediately can expose intentions before the moment is right. Instead of reacting, they watch. Instead of arguing, they evaluate. Instead of announcing their plans, they prepare them. And by the time others realize what is happening, the decision has already been made. Another aspect of influence involves perception. People often assume that power is loud, dramatic, and visible. But in reality, the most effective influence is often subtle. Many individuals try to demand respect through forceful behavior or aggressive words. Yet this approach frequently creates resistance rather than loyalty. A different approach focuses on composure. When someone remains calm in tense situations, others begin to notice. When they respond thoughtfully instead of emotionally, their words carry more weight. Over time, that consistency creates a reputation. People begin to expect stability from them, and that expectation gradually builds authority. Influence, in many ways, is built through perception. Human beings rarely see the full truth of another person. Instead, they interpret signals, body language, tone of voice, confidence, and consistency. Those who understand this dynamic recognize the importance of presentation. Not in a dishonest way, but in a strategic one. They know that how you appear often shapes how others respond. Confidence encourages trust. Calmness encourages respect. Emotional stability encourages reliability. When these qualities appear consistently, people begin to look toward that individual when difficult decisions arise. But emotional discipline becomes even more valuable during conflict. Conflicts often escalate because both sides react emotionally. Anger meets anger. Pride meets pride. Each reaction fuels the next, turning small disagreements into major battles. However, when one person refuses to escalate emotionally, the entire dynamic changes. Calm responses interrupt the cycle of reaction. Instead of feeding chaos, composure introduces clarity. This does not mean avoiding confrontation entirely. Sometimes firm decisions must be made, boundaries must be established, actions must be taken. But those actions become far more effective when they are guided by careful thought rather than emotional impulse. Another reason emotional discipline matters is that the world does not always reward good intentions. Many people act according to their own interests, sometimes ignoring fairness or kindness when pursuing their goals. Recognizing this reality does not mean becoming cynical. It simply means becoming aware. Awareness allows individuals to protect themselves from manipulation. When someone understands their own emotional triggers, those triggers cannot easily be used against them. If anger controls you, someone can provoke you. If approval controls you, someone can manipulate you with praise. If guilt controls you, someone can pressure you with expectations. But when a person recognizes these patterns, they gain freedom. They can pause before reacting and choose their response carefully. This awareness transforms emotion from a weakness into a tool. The disciplined individual still feels anger, empathy, excitement, and disappointment. The difference is that these emotions no longer dictate behavior. They become information instead of commands. This mindset also encourages patience. Many people rush toward immediate results, revealing their intentions too early. Strategic thinkers understand timing. They allow situations to develop before acting. They study patterns, observe reactions, and gather knowledge before making a move. Sometimes the most powerful action is waiting until the exact moment when action will be most effective. And when that moment arrives, the decision appears effortless to others. People may assume it was luck or coincidence, but the reality is often preparation. Careful observation. Careful observation. Controlled emotion. Another surprising element of influence is unpredictability. When someone behaves in completely predictable ways, others can easily anticipate their reactions. But a calm and disciplined individual becomes difficult to read. Their reactions are measured rather than automatic. This creates uncertainty for those who try to manipulate them. If someone cannot predict your emotional response, they lose one of their main advantages. This does not require secrecy or deception. It simply requires self-control. Self-control turns impulsive reactions into deliberate choices. And deliberate choices build credibility over time. People begin to notice that you are not easily shaken. They see that pressure does not change your behavior dramatically. That consistency becomes a form of strength. Because in moments of uncertainty, people look for stability. And stability often comes from the person who remains calm while others panic. Throughout history, leaders who demonstrated this composure often gained influence naturally. They did not need to shout for attention. Their presence alone communicated confidence. Confidence rooted not in arrogance but in clarity. They understood their values. They understood their goals. And they understood their own emotional responses. This self-understanding created a powerful advantage. Because mastering the world begins with mastering the self. Yet, there is an important balance to remember. Emotional discipline does not mean eliminating compassion. In fact, understanding emotions can make someone more empathetic because they recognize the feelings of others more clearly. The difference is that empathy does not override judgment. Kindness does not erase boundaries. And patience does not prevent decisive action when necessary. True strength lies in combining emotional awareness with rational thinking. It is the ability to care without being controlled, to observe without becoming detached, and to act without losing integrity. Many people misunderstand strategic thinking as manipulation. But the deeper purpose is understanding human behavior and responding thoughtfully. When someone develops this awareness, they move through life differently. They listen more carefully. They speak more intentionally. They react less impulsively. And over time, their decisions become more effective, not because they dominate others, but because they understand themselves. In a world full of noise, arguments, and emotional reactions, the calm thinker stands out. Not through volume, but through clarity. Not through intimidation, but through composure. And perhaps that is the real lesson hidden within centuries of philosophy and observation. Power rarely belongs to the loudest voice. It often belongs to the quiet mind that sees everything clearly. But here's the question that few people stop to consider. If emotional discipline gives someone such influence, then what happens when a person masters not only their emotions, but also the emotions of everyone around them? And that might be the next idea worth exploring.